Well, that's it. I've just finished the tour. It's just after 1 o'clock. Starving hungry, so I went and had a currywurst and rochen. So a currywurst and a bit of bread. Now I'm ready to retrace the steps of the tour I've just been on. So the building you see just behind me there was the headquarters of the Luftwaffe during the Second World War. And then just next to it, I'm going to take you over there in a minute, is what was the building of the SS. And we're going to go over and have a look at that now. The reason that the guy didn't want me to video, he didn't want to be on the video, but it was kind of inappropriate. There was about 30 people on the tour, so I vowed to their wishes. Now I'm going to have a wander round, retracing the steps and looking at the Second World War stuff of Berlin. So this is what they call the topography des terror, and we're going to go and have a quick look at that now. So the building just the other side of that wall, and this is the west side of the wall, and the other side is the east side of the wall. That building is was the headquarters of the Luftwaffe during the Second World War. Just over to the right there, you can see that big dome, and that's where they run the Trabant tours from. This down here was what the basement was of the headquarters of the SS, and nobody really wanted to build on it after the war, so that's why this space is left. Now that building there, we're just going to go and have a quick look around, is the museum to the SS and the terror that they reigned. So what you can see down there, this is the basement of what was the SS, and what it does from the far end there, it chronologically depicts the rise of the Nazis until the end of the war, from 1933 to 1945, and some of the atrocities that they meted out on people. If you come to Berlin, this is one of the things you really have to go and see. I'm not going to do anything down there, but just to give you a look, and you can make your own minds up. So this is just what it looked like during the war, before the war, of the Nazi headquarters buildings across the whole of Berlin, most of which got flattened. So this is the Prince Albert Strasse and Wilhelm. This is depicting what it looked like after the war. Pretty much devastation everywhere. Not a building was left untouched. That's what the building looked like when the SS were running it. So that's a look at the back of the Luftwaffe building, and you notice that was in what was East Berlin. So the Russians used it for a while, and then the Germans took it over, and now it's used for government building. So just across the road there, you can see where they park up all the old Trabants. So as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen any running around, but as far as I'm aware, they still have these Trabant tours around the city. And so this is the Luftwaffe headquarters building, and it goes on for ages. What you can see over there is East German or building infrastructure that was after the war. So this is still this building here, but yeah, money, love, death, freedom, what remains in the end. So yeah, all these buildings that you can see here were from the Cold War era, built after the war. This is a memorial. That there's propaganda, and this is the actual reality of it. This is the uprising in 1953 by East Germans, and the 17th of June is the day that it happened, and that's the reason for all these roses, for the thousands of people that came out onto the street and protested against the Russian regime at the time, and it was put down fairly savagely. So local dignitaries have put all these memorials here, all these flowers. So that's looking at the reality, that's looking at the propaganda at the time. So 1953, 17th of June 1953, the uprising in East Berlin that didn't end well, and that's why East Germans never rebelled again. So that's the story behind this. It's unbelievable what cruelty they meted out. But there you go. That's what life was like under Russian rule in East Berlin at the time. So this guy, George Esler, he came up with a plan to assassinate Hitler. He got everything right, and it would have succeeded had Hitler not had to drive back to Berlin. Basically, he planted this bomb down where Hitler went every year at the same time, same place. Spent weeks building this bomb, planting it, and time to perfection. Hitler left 13 minutes before the bomb went off. It killed a few people. But this is the guy that did it. He was arrested while trying to cross into Switzerland, and he was interrogated by the SS, tortured by them. They didn't believe that he acted alone. But what they did do is they made him recreate the bomb to prove that he didn't have any accomplices. Right, what we're going to look at next is the Führer bunker, and I think it's this way. So the Führer bunker, or what's left of it, which isn't a lot actually, is just round here, and all these buildings that you see around me were built in the Cold War years by the East Germans under the Russians. But we're just coming up to the actual spot of the Führer bunker. Now, on the tour we came round earlier, what they did on this spot here is where Hitler assassinated himself, or killed himself, committed suicide with Eva Braun, on this very spot. And as you can have a look around, there's nothing left of it. there's absolutely nothing left of the Hitler bunker. But I'll show you a bit more in a minute. So if you have a look behind me, as far as you can see, this was the extent of the size of the Hitler bunker, of the Führer bunker. This is where Adolf Hitler had originally in 1936 a bunker built, and then got extended. The original one had 2 metres of concrete over the top of it. The one built in 1943, I think it was, had 4 metres of concrete laid over the top of it. Okay, what we're going to go and have a look now is at the Jewish memorial. It's odd, it's weird. It's just made up of a couple of thousand big concrete blocks. The guy that actually designed it didn't put any, he didn't give any context to it, to what it was all about. What he did was left it to people's imagination. So we'll have a look at it, and then you can make your own minds up. So just behind me is the memorial to the Jewish people that were lost during the war. Now just have a look. It's just a load of random concrete blocks, all in different straight lines. Just have a look. It's odd. It's just odd. Now, there are certain rules and that visitors must obey. Basically, you're not allowed to stand on them. You can sit on them, but you can't stand on them. You can't jump up and down. You can't bring dogs or other pets. Yeah, but basically, it's all about making your own mind up as to what you think of it, or what you think it commemorates. But the idea is that you can walk through it and you just get a surprise when somebody comes around the corner. Now, funny thing is, just over the back there, that building on the corner, the white one, with the American flag on top, that's the American Embassy. American Embassy in Berlin. So there you go. So we'll have a quick wander down, because after this we're going to go across to the Brandenburg Gate. Now, you may or may not be aware, but let's turn you around. Oh. So going on at the moment is the European football something or other, and what they've done is they've taken up the whole of from the Brandenburg Gate all the way down to the Victory Monument as a fan zone. So as you can see, I'm just walking through, and you just get straight lines all over the place, and you can have people step out on you from anywhere. So it's just strange. It's just an odd memorial, but it's just to the Jewish people. Now, what they've also done is there's several other monuments scattered around for different groups of people. So you've got one for the roamers, one for other groups of people. So we're just coming to the far end of it now. So we're just going to pop out the end here and go and have a wander down and have a look at the Brandenburg tour, the Brandenburg Gate. This, by the way, we're still in East Berlin. Not quite sure you can make it out in a distance, but that's the East Germans or the Russians' answer to the Funkturm Tower in West Berlin. and when the sun shines on it, you can always see a cross. There's always a cross on it. Not a lot of sun around at the moment. So the building you can see just off to the slight left of the picture there is the Reichstag, and just coming up now is the Brandenburg Gate. So we're going to have a look at that. There's hundreds, thousands of football fans and tourists. So that's what you're getting at the moment. So basically this is one side of the Brandenburg Gate, and if I turn this round, look what they've done. They've turned it into a fan zone. They've got a big screen up, I guess, that they're going to be showing the football on. Apparently there's only 6 games here in Berlin. Don't know, I don't care. I don't do football. Now here's a quick story for you. So you've seen behind us, that's the Brandenburg Gate. We're now on what was the East German side. Now apparently Victory, which is the statue at the top there with the 4 horses and the chariot, has always been facing this way. Back in the late 1800s when Napoleon was there, he nicked it and took it to Paris. When the Germans took Paris, they brought it back, and just to upset the French, just over there behind me is the French embassy. So now I'm heading for the Reichstag. Now at the end of the war, the Reichstag was destroyed, properly trashed by the Russians. They did a proper job on it, and it lay derelict for a long time. But after reunification, it was rebuilt, and there was a close vote by the German Parliament at the time that was in Bonn whether to move back to Berlin. And so in 1990 they rebuilt it. Now if you have a look down here, just along here, this is the line that the Berlin Wall was up, and you'll notice that the Reichstag is literally just inside the west. So there you go, that's the Reichstag, and all this area is all sort of cordoned off and one thing and another for the football. So once the Russians had taken the Reichstag, it effectively brought the war to an end. And there's a famous photo of a Russian soldier that's actually Kazakhstan. It was a Kazakhstan soldier apparently. Put a flag up on that top corner there. So you can just about see where he did it up there, and if I can find the picture I'll put it in the video, and it also just about shows the Brandenburg Gate in the back of the picture. So that is the back entrance to the Reichstag. Can't do the front entrance because it's all cordoned off for the football. So this is the front of the Reichstag as it is today. Now an interesting thing is that they built it back in 1990 after the reunification of the wall, but they also built all this stuff behind me. Now all these new buildings have all been put up since the wall come down, and they're all to do with the German Parliament, the German government. So I'll show you a little bit more of that when I get down to the river. That's just looking up at the side of the Reichstag. And then just looking over there, you can see all these new buildings, and they're all associated with the government workers, all to do with the German Parliament. As you can see, they do boat tours around this navigable river that joins up. It's the River Spree. So there you go. So looking back again at the Reichstag, it's all been rebuilt since 1990 after unification. And that across there is is all part of the government buildings. After the war, this whole area was flat. So, totally flattened. So there you go. One of the interesting facts about the Reichstag is its construction afterwards and what it allows. So written into German law is the fact that you can go in there and see open Parliament. So the articles written on these glass walls behind me are enshrined in German law, so that the rise of a far right party or a far left party can't ever happen again. And that's what they've done. That's why they've got transparency. So there you go, learn something. So that's Article 1. Apparently that's the article that, you can't see it very clearly, but that's the one that Angela Merkel used to open the floodgates of Europe. Not clever, was it? So people in Parliament, 75 years, live in democracy. Germany's history in the East and West. A film and light show 23rd of May to the 3rd of October 24, starting at dusk at the Reichstag. There you go, light show tonight. So remember that I said that this whole area was pretty much flattened. I mean, that's looking back at the Reichstag, and you've got a couple of boats here on the river. Now, if you look just over there, there's a red brick building on the left. There's another one in the middle. There's a cream coloured house. There's another sort of cream coloured house, and behind me you can see this red brick building, and then new buildings either side. Now this was in East Berlin. Now those buildings that I've just pointed out, so the buildings I've just pointed out to you, they were one of the only buildings that were left in this area after the Russians had finished with it. They had actually annihilated most of the place. So that's why there's so much new building here in what was East Berlin. So this building up here is the only one that survived in this whole street. Likewise, across the river there, the one on that far right as you look at it, that cream coloured one, that was left standing. There's a big gap, and then this other cream coloured building that survived the war, and they've been building between them, and the same as you look over the back there, and all that down that side there was the new government buildings after reunification. One thing I forgot to say about the River Spree, it links up with a series of other rivers, navigable rivers, that take you all the way up to Hamburg and then out into the North Sea. So it's a navigable river, and it was the reason that Berlin was actually built here in the first place back in the 1600s. It was a small hamlet back then. Another interesting point about Berlin, what's going on there? Berlin has still only got just over 3.8 million people. In comparison to cities like London, Paris, it's tiny. It's a very small city. So yeah, even after reunification, Berlin hasn't really grown that much in people. Learn something new every day, don't you? Not quite sure you can see it, but that tower over there, you can just make out the cross. And it doesn't matter where you look at it in Berlin, you can see that cross when the sun's shining on it. This is an interesting little memorial. This is to the children of the Jews that from 1938 to 1945, it says trains to life, trains to death. There's another angle of that tower. So this is where I started my tour this morning, and this is where I finished it this afternoon. Well, I finished it where I started it. Now I'm finishing it where I started it. Does that make sense? But this is Friedrichstraße Bahnhof. Yeah. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little tour of World War II Berlin and some of the sights that we've seen. There is so much more to see in Berlin, trust me. You probably need a fortnight to get most of it. I've only scratched the surface. Unfortunately, I haven't got enough time to go and do what I really want to do, but I've hopefully given you a flavour of what Berlin has to offer. So I couldn't leave Berlin without showing you one of the iconic views of the city. This is what's known as the Blue Church. This was bombed during the war, quite heavily bombed, and that's all that's left of it. And then around it they built this new church which they call the Blue Church. So just feast your eyes. That's the Blue Church. So we'll get a better view across the road. So yeah, there you go. That's the iconic picture of Berlin. The Blue Church, and I'll have to put up in the description the name of the church, I can't remember what it is. But you can see just behind it they've got the what's known for the Euros. And just behind that you can see the Mercedes building. So I'll just give you a quick eyeball around. So that's a hotel, and that's the Bahnhof at the Zoo Garden. So this is where we're at, Zoopalast. So that's a quick look at the iconic church that was destroyed during the war, or part of it was anyway. So there you go, there's another view of that iconic church, and just beside it is the new one, the Blue Church. So yeah, I really couldn't leave Berlin without doing that. So that's it for me for now. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of Second World War stuff, just to scratch the surface of it. So until I get to my next destination, where's that going to be?